The Casket Girls. Travel 1 block toward the river to Charters and you'll find the old Ursuline Convent at 1100 Charters Street. The legend of the Fille à la Cassette starts before the colony of Louisiana or the city of New Orleans existed. In the early days of exploration, explorers were only men who traipsed the globe looking for land to conquer, resources to steal, and people to kill. When they settled in Louisiana and finally New Orleans, the men started having babies with the women they enslaved, or running off to the woods to be with the Indian women. They realized a flourishing colony would require women and families. By that, they meant white women and white families. So in 1728, the French sent over some reputable women to be the wives of the settlers. They came with small wooden chests, casket in French, presumably with their belongings. The women arrived with sickly complexions and bloody mouths. They were housed in the 3rd floor of the old Ursuline convent, with their chests, and the shutters were nailed shut. The nuns were hiding the girls from the settlers because they were displaying signs of supernatural diagnosis. Eventually, the casket is anglicized to casket. Perhaps the women were the original American vampires. Perhaps they are still there. So what can we prove? The word in French for the small wooden chests is cassette, not casquette. The women were probably pale with bloody mouths because they had scurvy from a lack of fresh fruit or tuberculosis on the voyage to New Orleans, if that is even true. The French started sending women to New Orleans and Louisiana as early as 1721, before the Ursuline nuns arrived in 1727. The old Ursuline convent that is standing was built in the 1750s. The one previous to it was built in the 1730s, so they wouldn't have been housed on this 3rd floor. In addition, the Casket Girls legend originates after the 1987 visit by Pope John Paul II. I say this confidently because the shutters did not yet exist on the building. The legend falls apart with just these facts. In the 1904 Picayune Guide to New Orleans, there is no association of vampires with the Casket Girls. Instead, the guide provides information about the Petticoat Rebellion. There is no mention of vampires with the Casket Girls in the 1938 New Orleans City Guide. By the 2018 edition of the Lonely Planet New Orleans Guide, the association of vampires with the Casket Girls was cemented in local lore. Because this is another Richard Rochester special, he also admitted to making this story up, back to the same news still on eBay. Quote, Richard Rochester pauses on Charter Street opposite the old Ursuline convent to point out what he claims is a haunted section of the 3rd floor, unquote. Even though he visited since the 1970s, Richard didn't move to New Orleans until 1990, so the shutters were always there in his New Orleans.